After becoming self-governing in 1959, Lee Kuan Yew sought to ensure the economical survivability of Singapore. At that time, colonialism had resulted in the economy of Singapore strongly dependent on entrepreneur trade, with 70% of her GDP derived from such entrepreneur activities. The government focused on shifting the economy to export-oriented manufacturing activities. Due to the lack of natural resources, the development of the country's human resources was of utmost importance. In a speech in 1966, Lee Kuan Yew said, "What we lack in numbers and size, we must make up for in quality." Thus, an education system that would support the development of a literate and technically trained workforce was introduced. Mr. Lee saw education as the first step towards the development of Singapore. Singapore's expenditure on education in the 1960s was about the highest rate anywhere in the world, around 20%. In a 1959 speech to the teachers of Singapore, Mr. Lee said that it is no exaggeration to say that our 10,600 teachers in all our schools constitute the most influential group of 10,600 people anywhere in Singapore. Teachers also had an important job other than imparting literacy. Mr. Lee said that even though the students may not be aware of it, they share a common destiny and will share a common experience. Their minds are still open and free from communal prejudice, and it is the sacred duty of teachers to keep it free from such divisions. Mr. Lee also played a key role in uniting the schools of different races. He was appointed as a member of the Committee of the Singapore Legislative Council in 1955, which recommended the integration of the different and separate kinds of schools then in Singapore. He felt that if in the 4 different languages of instruction, we teach our children 4 different standards of right and wrong, 4 different ideal patterns of behavior, then we will produce 4 different groups of people, and there will be no integrated, coherent society. Thus, he openly appealed to the teachers of different races that each one of you have your own special problems, but you have one common problem to ensure that the future is peaceful, secure, and stable for our next generation. It was only several years after the PAP took office in 1959 before the Ministry of Education could assert the right to determine what was to be taught in the schools. Lastly, Mr. Lee left his legacy in Singapore in the unique form of bilingualism. He succeeded in breaking the barriers of language between Singaporeans by implementing a common language, English, while keeping them rooted to their cultural heritage by having them learn their respective mother tongues. Even today, bilingualism is still a key component of Singapore education. Mr. Lee's strong advocacy for bilingualism is left rooted in Singapore in the form of the Lee Kuan Yew Fund for Bilingualism, which was set up in 2011 by Mr. Lee. So, the next time you speak in your mother tongue, remember the man who made it all possible.